Good morning, all. Some familiar faces, some unfamiliar faces. Welcome to the call, guys. First of all, I'd like to thank everyone for their time this morning. Obviously, getting onto a Zoom call these days, a lot of people are getting zoomed out. Our job is to make sure that it's worth your time, worth your investment of time, and we're going to make sure we do that because we've got 3 awesome presentations to take you through today. What I might ask you to do is if you can mute yourselves. I don't know how to do this as a mute all button. There is okay, let me try this. Hey, look at that. I can mute all. I have the power. So today, what are we going to be talking about? I'm very excited about today's topic because this is something that is really important to people in business right now, and it's about taking advantage of the next boom. For most of us, we've struggled through the COVID period from one of 2 ways. I've had people who have been super quiet because they've been shut down. I've had people that have been super busy because they had unexpected growth. Who's in the super busy window? Who's those people that have been super busy as a result of COVID? Who's those people that have gone quiet as a result of COVID? Yep, interesting, right? And there's some people that were busy and then went quiet and then went busy. But one of the things that's really significant and important to me is the understanding of what's happening in the economy and how things are starting to come back to what we would call normal. And COVID is almost a thing of the past these days, but rebuilding teams. So one of the big issues we're seeing right now is, recruitment is quite difficult in this market. Who's challenged by recruitment right now? Can I get a show of hands for those people challenged by recruitment? Only one person on this call. Awesome. So today is about structuring your business to take advantage of the next boom. And I found one thing in business to be true, and that is that so many people, maybe before I do that, I'll talk a bit about myself for those people who don't know who I am. David Guest. I run Outcomes Business Group. We host these events and we've been doing this. We used to do them as breakfasts. So I know some of you guys have been to some of our breakfasts in the past. We moved online as COVID sort of transitioned, and now we're finding we can reach more people in a much more cost-effective way. Our primary purpose in life is to reinvigorate the business dream and to keep those people who are in business thriving and growing and getting, traction in any market. What I wanted to touch on today is, the types of businesses that we see. And a lot of people run their business as self-employed, and there's nothing good or bad about being self-employed other than some people think it's a business when it's not a business. It's a job. And what ends up happening is they're really busy doing the work, and they do very little in the terms of admin and marketing. And one of the reasons they do this is they say we're too busy. We don't need to market. We have more work than we can handle. And the reality is that they're just being pulled from pillar to post. And if you look at this picture, the real issue is that this little section here, which is them, is stuck inside the business. Now, when we look at a performing business, what we're looking at is a business that has sales, marketing, and operations all in equal capacity. But the key element that you want to sort of take note of here is that this person who is the business owner is now not working in the business, they're outside. They're working on the business. Now, when we talk about preparing for the boom ahead, one of the big concerns for me is for most people who are busy right now, when the boom ahead comes along, it usually comes and goes, and they're so busy they don't even see it happen. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about how do you free yourself up? How do you make sure that you're available to take advantage of what's coming? Now, if you want a prediction, I'm not that good at reading crystal balls, but I can tell you for a fact that business will change. It goes up, it goes down. And those people who actually take advantage of markets are those people that can read the play in their industry. And to read the play in your industry, you need to be outside of the engine room and at the helm of the boat. So you need to be looking at what's going on in the economy. You need to be looking at how your competitors are being impacted. One of the best things that happens during a tough market is who's going back to that question around recruitment. Who's in the recruitment market right now looking to build their team? Is there anyone in that space right now? Yep, only 1 or 2 people. Here's what I found is it's tough to recruit right now, right? Not many people are looking for work, and if they are, they're looking for a lot of money. And that's fine, right? Because that just means that's what the market is offering us. Today, we're going to be talking about how you get past that. So we're going to get you to be working on the business more than in the business. And here's a slide. Some of you might have seen this before in some of my other presentations, but we talk about mindset when it comes to business. And what I find is many people are in this, what we call waste environment. And in the waste environment, they do one of 3 things. They're either in denial, they don't see that they have a problem. They use excuses or justification for why they can't grow their business. I'm too busy right now. The market's not ready for what I have to offer. I can't get people to sign my contracts. or they blame, right? They say, it's not me, it's the economy, or it's not me, it's the competitor. And what I suggest to you is that anything that comes up in this area is called waste. It also shows up as being a victim. And when we want to be successful in business, we need to switch to the other side, which is taking ownership of where you are right now. It's about being accountable for the results. Whatever's going on in your business right now, the numbers don't lie, and being responsible for what you do about it. And so when we talk about results and what you do about it, we're going to talk about 3 elements today that are going to help you get this underway. But just prior to doing that, I really want to talk about a little tool that we use in our coaching business, and it's been awesome for lots of people. And it's this idea of working out what's the best use of my time. Now, this is what we call the skills fund matrix. And if we think about activities, because most people don't realize that time is their most valuable asset, okay? Time is your most valuable asset. It's the one that you can't get more of, right? So what you do is you trade time. And Robert Kiyosaki said it really well. He said, most people who are poor trade time for money, right? Poor people trade time for money, while rich people will trade money for time, which means they buy their time back. Okay, now when we talk about busyness or people who are busy in their business, I would suggest, and I would challenge you to do this, start looking at what you do every single day and start identifying all the tasks. And you'll find some tasks that you do will fit into this bottom area here, which is low skill, low fun, which is stuff that you have to do because you don't have anyone else to do it. Other activities that you do, which are high skill and high fun, will probably sit up here, and there'll be all sorts of ideas and activities in between. Now, my challenge to you is to start identifying what are the low skill, low fun activities that fit into this space here. Because that's the stuff that you can pay someone else $20 an hour or $10 an hour to do. And if you can't identify the tasks, you can't delegate them. And then what we do is we do less of this stuff. And we literally go the other side and we do more of this stuff. And what this does is it actually increases our productivity, our value, and our effective hourly rate. So the 3 elements we're going to be talking about today are going to cover this. And what I'm going to suggest to you is that when it comes to getting more valuable or improving your productivity or being able to take advantage of the boom ahead, there's 3 things that we need to focus on. The first one is, who do we get to do the activities that we shouldn't be doing? The second thing that we need to do is, how do we streamline our time? And then the last thing is, why should we do all this? Why should I actually leverage my time? What are the risks associated with doing that? So we're going to talk about these 3 elements today: the who, the how, and the why of being prepared for the boom ahead. So what I'd like to do at this point in time is I'm going to stop talking and I'm going to hand over to our first presenter, Kerry Ann Nelson. Can I just get a show of hands, those who already know Kerry Ann? Awesome, look at that. Especially the other Kerry Ann knows you, I hope. Kerry Ann's going to be talking about a really interesting topic and a really relevant topic to what we've got today. She's going to be talking about preparing to profit through your people. And I think delegation is one of those things that a lot of control freaks in business, anyone in this room, I should say, anyone in this room, David, can you please share your screen? It's difficult to see the slides. Thank you. I can, but I'll do that next. Is anyone in this room that has this philosophy in their mind? No one does it as well as I do. Is anyone guilty of this one? Yep. What about this one? If you want a job done properly, you need to, yeah, Martin's already sticking his hand up. See, the answer is you need to find someone and train them effectively so they can do it better than you. It's not do it yourself, but we're going to talk about how you do that through our presentations today. So Kerry Ann, let's switch over to you and let's get you to start to share your slides, and we're going to talk about the who, and we're going to get Kerry Ann to go through this process of preparing to profit through your people. So over to you, Kerry Ann.
Hello, everyone. It's so great to have you all here today. I talk fast, so I hope you listen fast. There's a lot that I really want to share with you, and I'll also be throwing some questions to you right there in the chat box. So I'd love to see you participating and joining in so we can get some good interaction happening. So my presentation today is called How to Avoid Outsourcing Failure. I'm all about outsourcing. I said to our little team here before that I outsource as much as I can afford. I literally, if there's something that I'm doing that someone else could be doing, I'm thinking, how could they be doing it? And how can I get them to do that with the budget that I've got? And so we're going to jump in and have a look at that. Now, only a few of you have said that you're looking for staff, although I know because I've had conversations with you that there are more people looking for staff than those who put their hand up. So hopefully this will open your eyes to some of the strategies that you can use to make outsourcing work for you. Now, let's get going. We're here to have a look specifically at how you can build your business by building your team. This is specifically about how you can bring more hands on deck to make sure that the work that can be done, that needs to be done, but not necessarily by you, can go to someone else's desk. We're trying to achieve some new insights today about how this can specifically work for you and how outsourcing is a really valuable option. Now, whether you're an onshore person or an offshore person, doesn't really matter. What we're looking at is ways to get all the work off your desk onto someone else's desk in the most scalable, affordable, accessible way possible. And we're going to achieve it by going through some key points. I've got a few tiny little case stories to go through to show you how this is actually already working for some of the people that we've worked with over the years. Outsourcing is certainly a strategy on the rise. I don't know about you, but if you have a look in your LinkedIn inbox, I'm sure that I'm not the only person who has had so many outsourcing companies reaching out to me and saying, hey, do you need staff? Hey, do you need to, clear your desk of work? And it's certainly massive. It's really quite amazing. 67% of business owners hired at least one virtual assistant in 2021. Workers love working remotely. It really is incredible to see that that work-life balance that everyone is looking for can be achieved by people that are working in a way that's flexible, in a way that is outsourced. So they're not tied to their desk in that standard old 9 to 5. They're not commuting to get to an office or an on-site workplace anymore. Workers that are working remotely that enjoy that work-life balance that people love. In fact, if they could, 99% of people would choose to work remotely, at least part-time, for the rest of their careers. People that are on the other side of the outsourcing equation that we're giving our work to as business owners enjoy that very lifestyle. And finally, of course, it comes down to how profitable can this solution be for business. Of course, the top reason for outsourcing is to save money and cut costs while you're continuing to grow your business. Like I said, growing your business by growing your team. Now, succeeding at this sometimes feels elusive. It feels challenging for people. Oh, I don't know if this is going to work. And you've got that old mindset of, if I can see them, then they must be working. But success is not actually a mystery. If you set up some simple systems and processes, you learn a new way of managing your staff, even though they're not right there under your watchful eye, and you can get a lot done. It doesn't need to sit in that too hard basket. You can set up strong processes and make this work for you. It will only be new once. Like everything in business, you'll find that it might be a little bit of a learning curve, and then boom, you're there and you're starting to really stretch out into skills that will benefit you for the rest of the time, not only that you're in business, but even in life. It's really great. I outsource to my kids sometimes. I know I'm stretching the concept of outsourcing here, but I'll outsource to my kids, I'll outsource to my family, whoever can be there. But really, in business, it is absolutely that once you learn this new skill, once you set up those processes, once you get your systems working in a new way, and it's not a big change, it's a tiny little shift. You still need work done well. You still need work done on time. You still need work done in a certain way to achieve the outcomes that you're looking for. But if you can do that in a way that's benefiting and leveraging the opportunity of outsourcing, just by shifting a little bit of how you operate, you will enjoy the benefits of that for the rest of your time in business. So I'm going to throw a question to you now. What do the smooth seas of outsourcing look like? So this is what I'm going to ask you to jump into the chat box. If you've got a really great, and you might need to use your imagination here, that's completely fine. If you've got a really great outsourcing arrangement, and we don't have very long people, so jump in if you've got an idea, what do you think that looks like? What do you think that would feel like for you or the people in the rest of your business, your family perhaps your clients? What would the smooth seas, what would outsourcing look like if it was working well for you? I'm going to hold because it's an important question. Thank you. A well-oiled machine. Very good. Very good. Lots of talking. Interesting. You can trust that the work gets done. Nice. Yes. Task taken. Yes. Now we're on to it, Philip. Yes, Michael. Yes, yes, yes. Here we go. Here we go. Exactly. These are the benefits that outsourcing. Strong carrots. Oh, I like that, Campbell. Very nice. These are the benefits that can be made available to you. Now, I'm going to flip because, of course, if these benefits were something that you know that you could achieve by jumping on that outsourcing bandwagon, everyone would be doing it, right? But I suspect a lot of people in this room aren't. In fact, that's a key question I need to ask. How many people are already outsourcing? You can just show of hands. I can see most of you. How many people are already outsourced some or all of your work? Yes, of course, Delia. If you didn't put your hand up, there'd be trouble. Yeah, okay. So some of you are. Very good. Very good. Now, if you could guarantee that all those benefits we just listed there were going to be achieved by outsourcing, everyone would be doing it, right? But the fact is we're not. So let's have a look. If an outsourcing storm is what you've got, what does that look like? See, most people don't outsource because they've heard the horror stories of when it goes wrong. So what are the problems that you imagine would happen? Or worst case scenario, you've actually had those problems. Thinking, come on, everyone knows why they're not outsourcing right now. Everyone knows that. Bad communication, great. Lose customers, poor quality. Theft of IP. Very good, Philip. Do the best job myself. Exactly. And that's such a main thrust. I can do it myself. Why would I get someone else to do it? But we just listed the smooth C's. Very good, very good, very good. Okay, we'll keep moving. Now, when Johanna came to work with us, she was in a real chaos. She was in a storm of outsourcing. And she knew that the problem was that she was trapped in a business, actually a not-for-profit, where all of the impact that she wanted to make, all of the difference she wanted to make in the community was not able to be harnessed because they were trapped in this bottleneck where her and her co-founder were the bottlenecks in their business. They couldn't keep going the way that they were going. And by setting up strong processes, they made their way through. And now they're operating in ClickUp with amazing results, really mobilizing their global team of volunteers. Now, I'm a big fan of outsourcing offshore, so I'm going to go with the ocean metaphors just a little bit longer. Now, the first thing that we see, if we're looking at an iceberg, is the very tip of the iceberg, right? So we're going to focus on that tip of the iceberg first. Of course, everyone, when they are outsourcing, the one thing that the vast majority, in fact, I can't think of a single person who wouldn't say this, you want to see what your outsourced team are doing. You want visibility. Everyone who outsources wants to have some sense of control, some sense of awareness of what's actually happening in the business. So when they're outsourcing. So let's drill down a little bit into that. Quick answers. What does visibility look like if you're outsourcing? If you've got a visible outsourced team, what does that look like? You can see what's happening. What does that look like for you? What does that feel like if you've got full visibility of your outsourced staff? What are people saying? What are people doing? Transparency and productivity, really good, Campbell. Any other thought there? I'll tell you, it looks like people actually being in, here we go. I just needed to wait for the internet to deliver all that goodness. Honest conversations, clear goals. Yes. Daily huddles, really good. It looks like your outsourced team being engaged, being punctual, being responsive, being accountable, like we saw there, for really positive outcomes. But without visibility, we're in serious trouble. And I honestly believe that this is the main hurdle that stops people from jumping into outsourcing. It means no responses to messages, work not getting done, deadlines being missed, ultimately the trust being broken because the staff aren't doing what they need to do properly. And so the owner needs to jump back in to do the work and start micromanaging all over again. And we see that time and time again, or they just take on the task themselves. When you're micromanaging, it sounds like this. It looks like, oh, I can't be certain they're working. No one else is reliable enough. No one does it as well as I do. And ultimately, that's where the outsourcing failure happens. Now, there is a really careful balance that you need to take here, because visibility, yes, it's absolutely essential, but it's also important that as the owner or the team leader, if you've managed to delegate some good, strong management areas in your business, that is the ultimate goal. But it's important for you to take responsibility. Continue to check in with your workers. When you're outsourcing, it doesn't mean that you take your hands off the steering wheel and see where you go. It's a careful balance of checking in and supporting people while still letting go and letting people actually do the quality work you're expecting them to do. So with visibility versus micromanaging, which is what we don't want, we want to be doing these three things. And if you're taking notes, this would be the sort of thing you'd want to quickly jot down, explain why their work matters. You want to stay connected with their work, and you want to provide support and rewards. You're not doing the work anymore, and this is the important thing, but the work is still visible to you. Now let's keep drilling down the iceberg, because the tip is at the top, but there is a big thrust underneath that is pushing that tip up above the surface where we can see. So let's keep going there. Now, of course, one of the biggest things underneath that visibility magic solution is culture. Having a good, strong culture is absolutely essential if you're outsourcing. It's essential if you're wanting to run a good, healthy business, but if you're outsourcing, it's particularly critical. If you've got a broken culture, it looks like flatlining relationships. It looks like dying engagement, lack of loyalty, ailing productivity. If you've got a broken culture, people just don't want to show up and they don't care whether they do a good job or not. And this is where we come into that question of culture versus fit. How many people have heard that saying, it's really hard to find good staff. It's really hard to find good people, right? And so we think that, oh, with outsourcing, we have to make sure that we find just the right person. But I want to argue that if you've got a good, strong culture, I hope this isn't too woo-woo for everyone, you're going to be attracting some really great people. But B, anyone who comes on board is going to know what the company stands for. Now, these are the sorts of things that people are worried about when they're not wanting to jump into outsourcing, and we've got a broken culture. People don't take responsibility. The outsourced staff doesn't care as much. I won't find that right person. If you've got a good, strong culture, that will completely flip those ideas on its head, and you'll find a lot of love in the room. I know in our Slack chat, we've got hearts and emojis all over the place. And at the end of the day, relationships are the lubrication of efficiency. You want really great outcomes? Be connected with the people that you're outsourcing to. Encourage them, reward them. Actually know when their birthday is and celebrate that. Say thank you when they're doing a great job, and you'll see people rise to that. And so there's three things that you can make sure will give you a strong culture is having a clear vision and mission. Really important. If you don't know what your business is, what it stands for and where you're headed, you're in trouble anyway, but you're certainly going to have a lot of trouble with outsourcing. Make sure that you're anchoring all interactions into the values of your business, and of course, build that rapport and relationship. Now, Christine is an amazing example of this. She did so well, bringing her outsourced staff into actually working with us directly. Now, this is an option for people. If you don't want to be the one drilling down into every last detail, you can actually outsource the setup of those systems. Staying in close contact, absolutely, but there are things you can do to make sure that you're not tied to all of those final details. Christine was able to do that, and she's had massive success continuing to grow her outsourced team by raising up a leader from within that team. And she is accelerating like no man's business. And that brings me to my absolute favorite topic, which is, of course, process. Now, if you've got a good, strong culture, it means you're going to have a really good, strong why. Why are you in business? What difference are you going to make in the world? What impact are you going to have with your customers and your clients? Well, your process is the operational how of that aspirational why. Really great quote that I love here to support what I'm saying here. A lot of people think that if you've got a really strong culture, that everything's just going to magically come together. And I'd like to suggest that it actually doesn't work that way. You can have a lot of love in the room, but if people actually don't know what to do, how to do it, when to do it, that's going to erode away your culture, and you could be in serious trouble. Process drives culture, not the other way around. And that is where we're headed in the last part of our little iceberg here. Now, when you've got a broken process, it looks like, I bet there are so many people that can imagine what that lady feels like in that image. It's when you're saying, I don't have enough time to set up the processes. I'll have to fix their mistakes because they're not going to do it right. Communication barriers are too hard. We couldn't possibly set things up to make the process run properly. Performance problems usually need system solutions. That's simply where it's at. If you're worried about performance ailing with your outsourced staff, then it's time to get back to the process. And here are your 3 steps to make sure that you are not managing tasks, but managing processes. Now, this is about the business owner stepping back and saying that individual job is not my responsibility anymore. I'm not going to touch that job. I'm going to delegate that. That task is not my job anymore. The process is my job. Staying across the process and building out good, strong systems so people know what a good job looks like and how to achieve that job. You can only duplicate a process, never a person. If you're looking to grow and scale, forget trying to make everyone like you. Start setting up systems so that other people can achieve the same outcomes as you. This is exactly what Marie Alessi did, the last person that I want to share with you here today. She went ahead and did some work with us, and by the end of the 12 weeks that she worked with us, she ended up with 2 new outsourced virtual assistants who did all of her marketing, all of her admin, all of her bookkeeping, and you should have seen her fly. Really absolutely amazing, because she took a process-driven approach first. So ultimately, this is where we are. If you want outsourcing success, you're going to be looking for visibility, which is driven by a good, healthy culture and then processes that hold everything together. Benjamin Franklin says it really, really well. Even those littlest things can break a process. And then we've got a broken culture because people will have resentment, that be disengaged and suffer all sorts of problems there with your outsourcing. But it doesn't take much to get this right. If you can delegate, you can duplicate. I love this little formula. We go from duplicating to multiplying, and multiplying takes us to scaling, which is where you can go with outsourcing. And I'm just wrapping up here today, but I would like to offer to say that it's time for you to start looking at all of those simple strategies that you can put in place and start considering the world of outsourcing, so that all of those low-level tasks that you've currently got on your desk can be moved to someone else's desk. And then what you're going to find is that you've got more time to do the higher level work of strategic growth, more time to serve clients, more time to drive expansion of your business, more time to do that strategic expansion of your business that you really need to do, instead of being caught in marketing, admin, bookkeeping, all of that stuff that needs to be done, but not necessarily by you. The trick is here to clear some of that work. And so I've got a little booking link right here that I would love, if you're actually interested in making this happen for you, I would absolutely love to talk to you about it. You're so close. The things that are already working in your business can absolutely be done by someone else, and all we need is a little setup. And so it only takes a few minutes to be able to see, this is what I can do. This is how we can be shifting that work onto someone else's desk. So thank you, David. I hope that that's been really helpful, and I hope people can see.
Fantastic. You managed to do that in record time. I don't think you took a breath during that whole presentation, which is awesome.
Yeah, I talk fast.
Look, reality is, I think most people are aware that there is stuff they can delegate. I think going through this process, the way you just described it there, was gold for me. What I'd like to do is we're going to go into some breakout rooms, and we're going to put you in groups of 5, and we're going to give you 5 minutes. And during that time, you're going to introduce yourself to some people you may or may not already know. but you're also going to talk about what was the main takeaway for you out of Kerry Ann's presentation. So we're going to put you into breakout rooms for about 5 minutes. Please make sure that you introduce yourself, some new people, and we'll have you back here in 5 so that we can hear back from what you learned about other people and what was your biggest takeaway from Kerry Ann. So let's put everyone into these rooms. I'm going to open them now. You need to probably click the join button on the count of 3. Can everyone see this? Yep, off we go. Looks like everyone's coming back. Fantastic. Hopefully we got some good value out of the session. I'd like to just see in the chat box, we need 10 more minutes. Haha. We're going to put you back in some breakout rooms. It's funny how people like the idea of breakouts more than they actually like the presentation sometimes, but I think that's important. What I'd like to do is I'd like to introduce our next presenter, and I'm going to try and make my screen look a bit better for those people who... Aha, does that look better for everyone? You can actually see me. I want to bring the next presenter up, which is going to be Peter Burgess, who's from Process Culture. Now, Pete is going to talk about automation. And I know a lot of people are scared of automation. I think that people think that robots will replace us one day. It is funny these days, you have to tell the computer, prove you're a human to a computer these days. But automation helps us thrive in business. It helps us get rid of those tasks that we really shouldn't be doing. So what I'd like to do is introduce Peter to the call. Are you there, Pete?
I am. Hopefully you can still hear me.
There you are. Awesome.
Yep. All good.
He's going to be talking about the how. So Pete's topic is how to free up time so that you can optimize and automate your process so that you can thrive in uncertain times. So Pete, let's hand over to you and let's get your presentation underway.
Fantastic. All right. Thanks, David. I'll just pop up my presentation. Hopefully, if you can just pop in the chat if you can see this or you can't see this, either way, but hopefully everyone can see the presentation. That's up there, David?
I can see it, yes.
Excellent. All right, I'll assume everyone can. So my presentation is around optimizing and automating your processes to thrive in uncertain times. For sure, we're in rather uncertain times with the fuel price back up again overnight, I think it is, and crazy things happening over in Europe and in Russia. But we can at least take control of the things we can take control of. So, and systemizing your business and then putting in automations is one of the great ways to ensure success when we do come out of uncertain times. So the key themes in today's presentation, we'll be talking about intentionally designing your business processes first. Then the second part will be looking at having all customer data in one place. These are key themes that I often talk about in all of my presentations. And then the third point, which is really the key focus of the presentation, is using automation to free up your team to do their best work. I'm often asked about, if we automate our entire business, does that mean that customers won't be able to talk to me or we won't have the normal interactions that we're used to in our business that give so much value to customers? And I say that what we're doing with automation is we're actually taking the manual and menial tasks in your business and those things that are repeatable and allowing technology to do the work. And then actually having your human face, or that the key benefit of your business, which is you as a person or you as your staff, to actually that to be presented to the customer. So you're showing a human face to the customer, but automating the manual and the menial. And then the final part is systemizing and documenting. So systemizing is really, we're looking at the business, we're breaking it down into processes, we're mapping it out, we're creating documentation and training materials. And a lot of that stuff is relates to what Kerry's been talking about. So the agenda today, firstly, design your processes. Second point is the one source of truth. We talk about the CRM. Third point, forms-driven automation. So we'll talk about how forms can kick off a process. And then probably one of the most important points is the fortune is in the follow-up, how important it is to have a system in place to effectively follow up on opportunities. And then here's a few examples of how we can use automation in our business. So number 5 is generating documentation. It's amazing what you can do with automation. A lot of those key documents that you currently write, they can be generated automatically, either PDF or Word documents, for example, and they can be set up for online signing, and payment of contracts can also be done online and automatically. With good automation in place, we can get better reporting, so we can start to really inform the process of making decisions. And then I might touch on some recommended tools, but just briefly. So everything for me starts with designing your process. So we actually have to look at your current process. Now, every single business has, a business is basically a collection of people or collection of human resources and a collection of systems and processes. So every business, even if they've just begun, has a sales process or has a marketing process or has certain operational processes and admin processes. And it may be that you haven't documented them, those processes, and often processes are in people's heads. They're not actually written down anywhere. What I'm doing here with visual mapping is we have a starting point where we're actually interviewing the staff, figuring out what does salesperson A think the process is, what does salesperson B think the process is, and then we talk to the entire sales team and come up with an understanding of the process, and each person's understanding being slightly different, and then we map it out so that we all have a common language or common understanding of the process. Because no one person, especially in an organization where processes are kept in people's heads, no one person will understand that process perfectly. So Martin's explained some work I've done with them around this, and we actually sketched out maps on the boardroom wall, and then had a common understanding of how their sales process worked. So I use a notation called Bpmn, or Business Process Modeling Notation. It might look a bit overwhelming. It's an industry standard notation, and with this notation, we can very clearly map out your process in a great detail. I also use another tool called Lucid Chart, just for mapping out at a high level. And then in this tool here, what you see on screen is actually from a tool called Coimo, which is a very nice visual tool for mapping out your process. So the advantage is, after a session of mapping, we then have a digital asset and something you can print out and put on your wall, which shows you your entire process. So the first part, we're looking at mapping the process, being very intentional in our design, mapping out the existing process, and then looking at an optimized process, perhaps with its, introducing some automation. But when it comes to the sales process in particular, and the marketing and sales process, a lot depends on having a single source of truth. So we want to have all of our data in one place. We want to be sure that when we're looking at wanting to contact a customer, we know what are their key contact information, what deals are we working on, what stage are we at in the pipeline, what's our communication, what were the recent emails we sent out, what meetings have we had, where we can check audio notes and physical notes about recent meetings. And also have that system integrate with our accounting and quoting software so that we can get a complete picture of any interactions we have with that customer, with their, have they paid their bills, for example, what quotes are out. So we have a very clear picture. And then with all your data in one place, you can then report accurately. The CRM, I use Pipedrive CRM, has great support for reports and dashboards. Or you can export the data into another system, a BI tool, and gain some really useful insights there. And a lot of CRMs these days also have workflow automation. So when certain events happen within your business, or when a customer signs a new deal, or you've got a new deal that you're working on, we can send notifications out to team members, or we can make updates in other systems like Xero, for example. But the CRM itself is a database where we store the customer information, and it really drives the entire process, the automations in your business, at least from a sales and marketing point of view. This is a recent insight, working with customers over the last year or two, is how important it is to actually have some good forms in place. Often you're updating multiple systems. So you might be updating a CRM, you might be updating your project management solution, you might be updating Xero. And so you find yourself doing multiple inputs. So we're putting in the customer's information in multiple systems. And you might make a mistake, or you might be frustrated by the fact that every time you have a new deal, you've got to update 4 systems. So if we start with a form, we can actually ask the customer to fill in a registration form, or we can take a phone call and fill it in ourselves. You can actually have all of those systems updated automatically at the same time. But we can also use those forms for kind of kicking off the entire process. So customers filling in a form, that can lead to the generation of other documents or forms that you have to take to have signed by the customer, or it can trigger off project management updates or updates to the CRM. It depends upon your process, but basically you're getting the customer to put their information in the form, and that's then allowing automations to happen in your business and data to be shared across systems. So it's pretty powerful. I use Jotform, and that's the technology that I recommend. It's pretty powerful. So just stepping back for a moment, this is actually to do with follow-up now. So ask yourself this question, and probably hard for you to know, but how many sales did you lose today, or at least recently, this month, for example? Do you really know? And if you go and look through, and I should probably be a bit more interactive here if I can bring up the chat, except for I can't see it right now. Yeah, if you think about it, how many opportunities do you have out there hanging in the breeze that people you should be phoning or should be following up with? So everyday businesses like yours are losing sales, and it might be because of slow follow-up. It might be because you're doing too many things manually and mistakes get made. And it might be just because you don't have a well-planned follow-up strategy. And this, for me, is the key. Picking up the phone and talking to opportunities or people that you have spoken to in the past who were not ready to say yes can make a huge difference to your ability to close deals. But we do need to have a system for following up. So the fortune really is in the follow-up. So here's an example from Pipedrive CRM. We've got an activities list here. And every time we get a new lead, for example, we can automatically create via automations an activity to actually call that new lead. And so we call the new lead possibly an hour after they've made the inquiry, and then we can make sure that we're able to address their concerns and hopefully bring them in as a customer. Now, what often happens with businesses when they get new inquiries, nothing happens. So it might be a couple of days before you get a response. What happens with automation is that you can decide that when someone fills in a contact form, we are going to have someone give them a call within an hour. And we're going to make sure that they also get an automatic confirmation of their inquiry. So that way, we're always staying on top of opportunities. And let's say we phone them and they don't answer, then we need to have a process in place to make sure we remember to call them back again. And let's say we do call them and they say, that's fantastic, but I'd like to talk about it next week. We make sure we call them back next week. So just automating reminders and follow-ups to your team, and also sending out confirmations to customers or prospects is a great way to ensure that you're optimizing your close rate. Here in Pipedrive, there's another nice feature that I like to use. It's called the contacts timeline. Similar kind of thing. You can get a holistic view of how effective are you at following up. So you can look at all of your customers and you can see, okay, as you can see, this is pretty disastrous. But at the bottom here, I love talking to myself. So as you can tell, and you can see what emails I've sent here to myself. But you can also see with Sam Smith, we had a phone call here. But we're meant to follow up every month, and you can see from the follow-up frequency here, all of these people have not been followed up within the month. So 34 people need to be contacted. This is just a very nice feature. It's not an automation. It's just a single dashboard for follow-ups where you can see, how effective have we been at following up. And if you've got a sales team, you can actually see, your sales team members. You can track their follow-ups this way. Automating client onboarding. So this is really one of the most important steps. I find a lot of my customers come to me for help with automating the onboarding of new customers, of their clients. We find that even though you've won a deal, winning a deal is a great thing. Then you suddenly have that feeling, oh yeah, I've won the deal, but I've got to do all this paperwork. I've got to get all these emails sent out to a customer, documents signed, create the client in Xero. So I have an automated process here. I use Practice Ignition, which is now rebranded as Ignition. And that's a tool that integrates with Pipedrive, but I can then automate all of these steps. So update the deal to one in the Pipedrive CRM, trigger an email, a welcome email, set up an account for the client in the portal, and create a new client in Xero, and send a deposit invoice. Now with Practice Ignition, they can actually pay everything online, so you can get paid up front, and then we can ensure that they've signed and everything's ready to go. So we can then focus on the real work, which is delivering value. And then the final step in the automation is client will book a workshop. And I use a tool called OneSub, schedule once, but you can use Calendly or any other tool, Microsoft Bookings, to achieve the same result. So I think looking at my clock, I've probably got about 5 or 6 minutes, and David might tell me. So this is a typical a map here, a process map of that sort of onboarding process. So the customer, as you can see, most is in the green bar and the customer's bar. So the customer receives the proposal, they select an option, they sign the terms and conditions, they pay via their credit card, and that's the point at which in our admin process, we have an automatic contact created in Xero, an automatic invoice being created in Xero, and that invoice is reconciled with the payment and then sent to the customer as a receipt, and they then receive the payment confirmation. What you don't see in this flow here on screen is that then continues on to an automatic email with a booking link, and we have a continuation of the process. But from your point of view, the only thing you've done here is sent to the customer a proposal, and everything has been done by the customer or automatically via automation. So the only thing you have to do is create a great proposal and meet the client at the first meeting and check your bank account that you've got paid. And document generation. So this is really, again, along with forms-driven processes, document generation has been one of the really beneficial features that I've been working on customers with this last year or two, especially with PandaDoc. So PandaDoc is a great tool for creating online documents and having them signed automatically and getting payment at the time of signing if you want. So the form can be populated with data directly from your CRM. So all you have to do is send it off. All the data is populated in. Customer signs it. You get a update into the CRM to say they've signed the document. And the signing of a document can also trigger other automations. I've also used a tool called Microsoft Word templates to create Word documents as well. So a similar process. But we can literally take all of your documents that you're currently providing to customers and template them and have them automatically generated. A quick point on here. Another thing that you can automate is marketing automation, and actually is the most common automation in the business. The process of nurturing your customers, making sure that your business stays top of mind. So I use ActiveCampaign and ConvertKit, two great tools for marketing automation, and ConvertKit's more on the email marketing, just basically focused on providing great email content and sequences, landing pages and forms. And using personalization as well to make sure that the messages that you're sending to your customers or your prospects or your new leads, those are targeted, that you're actually informing or sharing value about those things that the customers care about. So if there's someone who's interested in a high-end vehicle, you're not going to be sending them some information about bicycles. So it's important that they're actually receiving the information that's of value to them. A quick recap. I'll ask after the session because I've lost access to the chat for some reason, but I'll ask you for some scenarios or things that you're already doing in your business that you are currently automating and getting that value from. And here, for myself personally, in my own business, these are some of the things I've been doing. So automated lead management, whenever I receive a business card, scanning the business card into Contacts Plus and having that automatically entered into Pipedrive. That's a really great feature. Automated communication. So every time when you have a new customer or we book a discovery call, make sure that everyone involved is informed in a timely manner. But also I have notifications in Slack or email to show me that particular deal has happened or where we're at with an opportunity. And also automating follow-up. So I make sure that myself, I'm aware after, if I haven't spoken to someone for a few weeks, I'm reminded within the CRM or also via Slack that I need to give them a call. And then the final thing I do really useful is to have automated reports. So daily, weekly and monthly SMS and emails with statistics and reports. I receive an email every morning and a text message just telling me how many leads I've had and also telling me about my daily agenda. And here are a few reports from the CRM. So there's lots of different types of reports, but generally a couple of key categories. So we're interested in leads. The leads are those opportunities that haven't yet been closed, so that haven't yet moved on to be qualified, shall we say. So we're not sure yet whether they're going to be business. So leads, then deals. So deals are obviously leads that are qualified and we're working on closing an opportunity. And then there's activities. So things like how many emails have been sent out, how many phone calls have been made, what's been happening in the business, because activities are what actually drive sales. So without activities, if you don't pick up the phone, if you don't send an email, you're not going to get results. So really important, the output of all these automations, all this information in one place is high quality reports that will tell you at any one time, how are we doing with our leads? You know, how many have we created, how have we converted, etc. I've got a feeling we're out of time almost.
You are out of time, Pete.
Okay, so I will just fast forward. These are some of the tools. I'll just fast forward to the end here. I have a 4-step sales technology blueprint process. So it starts with a call, then we move on to road mapping, and then we plan the implementation. So I don't recommend to automate everything, just automate the key parts in your sales process. And then the implementation assurance is assuring you that you'll get the result, whether it's done by myself or it's outsourced to another partner, for example, when it comes to documentation and SOPs. I work via co-creation of an optimal business process, mapping out in Bpmn, and yeah, so the rest is as I explained before. If there are any questions, we can have them in the chat afterwards, and here's how to contact me.
So what I'll do, Pete, is I'll put your link into the chat box for people who want to book a time with you. We are going to jump into some breakout rooms because I know at least one person enjoyed the conversation that was happening in the breakout rooms. As you can tell from Pete's presentation, he's got a lot of knowledge in this area and he loves it. He's an automation guru. He's been doing this for years, and anyone who's worked with him knows that he likes doing those flowcharts and getting things automated. So I think it is a really key element of being successful in business is realizing what you can automate. What we're going to do is we're going to jump into some breakout rooms, and I want you to go into that breakout room with the conversation around what is the things that you believe can be automated that you're not automating yet. So we're going to break out into rooms for 5 minutes. You're going to meet some new people. Just check in with everyone there, introduce yourself, say good day, and what is something that you believe you should be automating. Let's throw you into those breakout rooms now, and we'll see you back in 5. Yeah. Hey, we've got some people coming back. Here they are. Woohoo. Welcome back from the break. Hopefully you met some new people. Hopefully you got some new insights. What I'd like to see in the chat box is what's been most beneficial or what's been most inspiring for you out of today's presentation so far, just in 1 or 2 words into the chat box. What's been most useful so far? I will do a Kerry Ann and I will wait impatiently. See what comes in. 1 or 2 words. What's resonated with you most? What are you most excited about so far? New insights into old ideas. Thank you, Dan. Got to do it. It's motivating to me to do what I need to do. Outsource. Get a VA ASAP. Yes. Seeing the connection between human process and tech. Yes, very much so. Knowing I've already implemented most of the strategies. Awesome, 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 awesome. So I am going to try and make my screen bigger so that everybody can see me. Hopefully I am pinned. Does that look good? Can you see my screen? Janice, just nod if you can. Yeah, awesome. All righty, so just for the home stretch of today, I'm going to be talking about the why. And when we talk about why, it's how to free up your time so you can pounce on the upcoming boom. Now, the first two presenters have been amazing because what they've been talking about is literally this idea of, building your team, building your systems, building your process. And to me, that is what working on your business is all about. And I find too many people give me the justification, I'm too busy, I don't have time, I can't find good people. And the reality is they are just control freaks. They love what they do, they love doing it themselves, and they're not comfortable in delegating or letting go. I will suggest to you that if you do not let go, you will end up in a problem situation. And some of you know exactly what I'm talking about. So I want to talk about the 3 phases of growth in business. And the first one is getting out of chaos and getting into control. Because for most people I meet in business, their issue is not that they're not good at what they do and they can't find work. They just don't have enough time in their day. And the reason they don't have time in their day is they are literally doing everything, or they're doing the main part of the business, and they don't have a team. They have a life support system for them. And so when we look at a business like that and we try to grow it, all we're going to do is grow the chaos. And what I've learned is if you grow chaos, you are just going to stress yourself out, burn yourself out. And so we need to get you out of chaos and into control first. The second thing that we work on is growth. Now, for most people, when we talk about growth, I'm not talking about 5 or 10% or even 20%. I'm talking about what would happen if we doubled your business in the next 6 months. Because for most people, they freak out and they say, if you doubled my business, I'd die of a heart attack because I'm already working hard enough as I am. So if you do not have the capacity to scale your business, what will end up happening is that you will start your marketing, start your sales, you'll get some results, and then you'll get busy. And you'll do what we call the seesaw effect, which is I'm so busy, I can't market anymore. So therefore, I don't want any more leads. I don't want any more clients. I just need to do the work. And then you'll run out of work. And then you'll go back to, I need more clients. So you'll end up going back and forth. And the last part is leverage. How do we actually leverage ourselves out of the business? So in the next 15 minutes, I'm going to give you the bullet points for each one of these. We're going to talk about each section and what you need to do to get out of chaos, get into growth, and leverage yourself out of the business. First thing, getting out of chaos and into control. Kerry Ann already touched on this, and I think one of the most significant things that people can do to get out of chaos and get into control is identify what they're building, right? You need to have a plan, what I call aspire. You need to actually have a vision for your business or a goal. And if you haven't done this before, I want you to write this question down. The question is, what will my business look like when it's finished? Now, for some people, they're going, what do you mean finished? I am too young to finish. And here's my suggestion. If you went to a builder and said, build me a house, and the builder says, how many stories do you want? And you say, I don't know, just start, right? My answer to that is, if you don't know what you're building, how can you tell if you're on track to completing the project? So aspire in business to me is literally building your business and deciding what will it look like when it's finished. Now, if you do not have an answer for that question, that is your first piece of homework, is to work out what am I actually building? Because if all it is a couple of extra clients, you're not building a business, you're just growing your job. And growing your job might be okay because it pays the bills. But if you're trying to build an asset that has value and you want to get out of chaos and get into control, you need to start thinking about what is this thing that I'm building? So the first thing is you need to have a vision. The second thing is that you definitely need to have a plan. Now, we talk about business plans. And who has a business plan right now? Can I have a show of hands for those people that got a business plan in writing? That's good. Half of the people on this call. That is amazing, right? Now, when I ask the next question, which is when was the last time it was updated? That's when some hands go down. I want you to think about a builder, right? If a builder has a plan and they're building a house, how often do they look at that plan? Right? The short answer is every time they cut something, pretty much every day. So if your business plan is not tattered and has coffee stains on it and is not pulled out every single week of your working career to review and make sure you're on track, then your plan is not effective. If you do planning once a year and you write that plan and stick it on the shelf and it has dust on it now because it's been sitting there for 11 months, that is not what I call planning, right? So for me, a business owner must have a plan that they're referring to regularly, at minimum monthly, preferably weekly. Okay. If you're in sales, the same thing applies, right? You should have a sales plan that you're referring back to. And the reason you need to refer back to it is because we get railroaded. Sometimes people in business, it's a bit like a 4-year-old taking a Great Dane for a walk, right? The question is who's walking who? And in business, you will get derailed. That's what happens. And unless you have something that pulls you back on track, you will end up chasing rabbits down rabbit holes. And when we do this, we become super inefficient. So the last thing that we need to do is we need to measure. Now, the reason we talk about measurement, and Pete talked about this in his presentation, is that the numbers do not lie, right? And when people are in business and they're not tracking what we call leading indicators, the measurements of activity, they're looking at lagging indicators, which is revenue and profit. It's like trying to drive a car by looking out the rearview mirror. The revenue and profit tells you what happened. It doesn't tell you what's happening. And for people in business, the measurement needs to be live and it needs to be proactive, which means it should be about activity, not just revenue. Revenue and profit is a result. Activity is number of sales calls, number of quotes, number of people I spoke to, number of hours we billed this week, those sorts of activities. Now, you measure those things and you have a plan that you're following and you have a big vision, and you will start to move out of chaos and start to get some semblance of control over what you do. The second piece of this puzzle, before I go there, my favorite quote from Albert Einstein was, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing, expecting a different result. And I watch too many people in business that say, I've been in business 20 years. And I go, great. Is it 20 years or is it 1 year photocopied 20 times? Who knows what I mean by that, right? Years just go on, and you say things are going to change and they don't change. Now, the reason they don't change is we're not accountable to the result, right? We say, oh, we're going to set a goal to grow next year. How did you go with that goal? Oh, we didn't achieve it. Why? I was too busy, right? And we have all this justification. But if you don't change what you do, as in physically day by day, then what happens is you end up on a treadmill. So let's talk about the second part of this growth plan. And this is really where the engine room, where the rubber hits the road in a business, and growth. And in growth, there's two elements that we need to be focused on. And so there's actually three parts to it. But the first part is that we need to have marketing happening. We need to attract. Right. Now, when we talk about attract in growth, we're not just talking about clients, we're also talking about team members. Okay. We're not just talking about clients, we're talking about team members. Kerry Ann mentioned again about this idea of attracting high caliber team members and having culture. Now, when you have culture in your business, when you have a clear definition of who your target market is, and when you do your marketing correctly, people will contact you. You don't have to chase people, they will come to you. And when they come to you, you need a system like what Pete talked about, which is all about conversion. So we need to be able to convert. And conversion isn't about forcing people to buy. It's not about pressuring them to make a decision. It's about having a facility in place that allows them to engage with you, ask questions, get answers, see you as a professional, so be professional in your communication, and making sure that you support them in learning about what your product or service is, and making sure that they can convert from being a prospect into a customer. Now, the last part of growth is the ability to deliver. Now, most people tell me they provide great service. I hear it all the time. We provide a great service. I say, what happens when we double the business? And they go, oh, I think I'd be okay. And I say, what do you mean I think I'd be okay? Well, I don't have that problem yet, but if I do, I'll deal with it. Now, my suggestion is that one of the things that stops people marketing and selling effectively is their fear of growth. Overwhelmed, their fear of losing control, and their fear of actually being able to serve their customers in a decisive and consistent way. So when we talk about deliver, we're not just talking about, yes, you provide good service today. My question is your service delivery scalable? Can your service delivery grow to accommodate the growth that you anticipate within your business? So you think about this, and what we really have is we have two flywheels. Okay, one flywheel is bring the business in, lead generation and conversion, and the other flywheel is deliver the service and get paid. Now, most of us are really good at delivering the service and getting paid, but if we turn up the volume on marketing, our quality drops. So you need to spin the flywheel of generating business and then spin the flywheel of delivering the service, and you need to keep those two things growing in synchronization with each other. And this is why I call it the growth engine of the business. Because for most people, it stops. It stops at their capacity to deliver. And the reason they don't go into sales and marketing is they say, I don't need that many clients, just one or two extras would do. I'm already in overwhelm. And I'll suggest maybe we're growing chaos. So we need to be thinking about how do we grow the business. Now, the reason we want to do this is that we want to grow a business that can work without us. Now, it's not that I don't think you should work. Right? I think that most people say, well, why would I want to have a business that I don't do anything in? And I say, it's not about deciding not to do anything. It's about having options. Because when we think about this, and before I go into that, I'll just talk about this quote. This is my second favorite quote. Jim Rohn was a famous business philosopher who was around for a long time when I started this business. And this one stuck with me. From when I was 21, I read one of his books, and he said, never wish life were easier, wish you were better. And it really sort of gave me this insight into it doesn't matter what the economy does. The economy will go up, the economy will go down, markets will trend. But the one thing that's going to stay with you for the rest of your life is you. And so when you start to realize the only thing I can change is how I am, not what happens out there. You start to realize that you can accommodate anything in the marketplace by becoming better. So when we talk about this last thing, leverage, right? And for most people in business, they never get to this point of leverage because they're too busy in the growth stage, or they're too busy in the chaos stage, just trying to get out of the treacle. Leverage to me is literally where you start to build a business that scales. It's taking you out of the engine room. It's making sure that you're not doing the work anymore. And there's three elements to it. Now, I touched on this in the last stage where we talked about attract, convert, deliver. But in here, it's about jobs. It's about employment, and it's about taking every item that you do as a business owner and turning it into a process and outsourcing it. Now, outsourcing it to a VA, outsourcing it to a PA, outsourcing it to a professional salesperson, outsourcing it to a manager, it's all the same, right? The business owner's job is to make themselves redundant. The business owner's job is to make themselves redundant. And the more redundant you are as an owner, the higher the value of your business. When you go to sell your business, by the way, here's a funny statistic for you, right? When I asked you what will your business look like when it's finished, there's three ways that most businesses finish, right? The first one is that they close their doors. 80% of businesses in Australia, when the owner retires or decides to quit, it's not saleable. The doors get shut. We have a fire sale, we sell the stock, we sell the assets, and the business closes. Now, the reason behind this is they never plan to sell. Right? There's only two other options that you can have. And one of them is that you sell your business. And if you're in the place where you say, my business is just me and I'm happy with that, self-employment, cool. But if you think you're going to sell it one day, I'd suggest you need to do two things. How much do you want to sell it for and when? How much do you want to sell it for and when? And the beauty of running your own business is you get to choose your own adventure. So you get to choose how much you want to sell it for and when, and then you build to that. Has anyone sold a house recently? Can I get a show of hands for those people who have sold a house in the last 2 years? There has to be someone, right? Awesome market to be selling in until about now, right? But here's the thing. Anytime people go to sell a house, the first thing they do is they look at their house and they say, what can I do to improve the value? And typically it means get the garden done, finish that renovation you never finished, and get a furniture company to come and put some fake furniture in there to make it look better, to increase the price, right? Now, here's what sometimes happens. Any of you who've been through this process, you go, well, that house looks really good now that we've finished it. Maybe we'll keep it. And this is what happens, right? So in business, when we start building a business to sell, we're going to build an attractive business. And if you have a business that doesn't have you at the center of it, all of a sudden you're going, why am I selling this? Because now I'm not in the center of it anymore. So this idea of closing the doors is not inspiring to me unless that's you being self-employed. The second option is to sell. So the question is how much and to who? And what it'll do is it'll force you to build a system and a business that's not revolving around you. The last thing is to keep the business under management, which means I don't need to be there anymore. I go to work because I love working, but I don't need to be there anymore. Now you get to choose which one of these you want, okay? And I'm going to suggest that you have to do that at some point in time through your vision. So the last part of the business growth structure is leverage. And there's three elements to this. So the first one is that you need to define. What I mean by that is everything we've talked about today. What are the roles in your business? Whether you do them or someone else does them, what are they? Define them in writing so that you can actually hand over a delegation effectively. So whether it's a VA, PA, anybody else, right? You need to be able to give them a precise description of what you want them to do. The second thing is that you need to go into recruitment mode. Now, this one here is a secret weapon because what I will tell you is that as a business owner, the one thing that will make you successful above and beyond everything else is your ability to find and keep good people. Your ability to find and keep good people will give you the success that you want in business. And the last piece of this puzzle is that once you've got them, you need to train them. You need to train them. So when we talk about leverage in business, it's about becoming really good at recruiting. It's about becoming really good at finding talent and bringing that talent into your business. Now, I bring these three things up because as you grow, I can teach you these things. And some people will say, we've heard this before, there's nothing new. Bruce Lee's another one of my favorite philosophers, and he talks about this notion of it's not about what you know, it's about what you do. Knowing is not enough, we must apply. And for me, when we talk about this planning process, it's literally a process that you as a business owner have to take ownership of, right? If you want to grow a business that works without you, if you want to grow a business that you want to sell, if you want to grow a business that just creates cash for you until you stop working, that's your choice. But if you don't have a plan to take you there that is mid to long term, what ends up happening is you'll either leave money on the table or you will burn yourself into the ground. And this is what we've seen with a lot of people in business. So really just to cap off on the three elements that we've talked about today, get yourself out of chaos and get into control. And we do this by getting clear on what we're building, aspire, by having a plan that we refer to on a regular basis, and by measuring the results, not just the financial results, but the activity results for not only ourselves, but every person who works within our business. The second phase is where we grow the business. And this is about marketing, attracting the right kind of people, converting those people, getting them to be customers, and finally making sure we've got a scalable delivery model. And if we get these 6 elements right, then we move into the last phase, which is where we build our team and our value. And this is by defining the roles so we can get out of the engine room and not do the work, by recruiting the right people, getting the right people on the bus, and finally training those people to make sure that they can take over every function that the business owner does. Now, I know I've rushed through this in a very quick way, but we're obviously very mindful of time and we've got about 5 minutes left. So just quickly, for me, we do this for our business. So what we do, we have a thing called the growth planning system. We have an intensive workshop that's coming up on the 6th of October. We do this with all our clients. It's exclusive. Our clients come into these events to plan their business. For these guys who are on the call today, if you're not a client of ours and you want to join us for this workshop and actually go through the planning process with us, you can do that pretty easily. You can jump onto, I have to put the link in the chat box. I'll do this very quickly because I'm very mindful of time. Let me get this happening. You can book a time. You can learn all about this event that we run, the growth planning system, by just going to this URL, the Outcomes Business Group GPS. What happens is you can't just come to these events. If you want to come to one of these events, we need to work out where you are at in your business right now and work out what you need to do in your plan. Now, I'm not going to charge anybody on this call. If they want to come to this event, come and check us out, right? So we've got our planning workshop coming up next week, next Thursday. It's 4 hours. If you can't make it for 4 hours, we can maybe put you into the next one, but you can't just pop into these events. They're about planning and making sure you're going to be successful in your business. So if you are interested in doing that, just jump on that link. You can find out a bit more about it and you can book a time to have a chat through that. With 4 minutes left to go, what I am going to do is I'm going to ask the other presenters to jump up on the screen, if I can get them here. I've got Pete on the screen there and I've got Kerry Ann on the screen. What I'd like to see in the chat box is what has been most valuable to you out of today? What has been most powerful? What has resonated with you? What are you excited about? Into the chat box, what have you learned out of today's session? If you have any questions, now's your opportunity to raise them with the presenters. We've got 3 minutes to go, so I just want to hear what you guys have got out of today. What's been most useful? What's been most valuable? Or if you have any questions. Into the chat box, 1 or 2 words. What has been the most useful thing you picked up out of today's session? Kerry Ann, it has been building a product as I build my business. Absolutely, working on it, not in it. Awesome. Let's hear from a few more people. Power of automation, definitely. The iceberg to success. The real driver is the culture and the process. Yeah, making sure that you're working on who you are, what you stand for, and making sure you attract the right kind of people. Peter, it's just about doing it. I'm not sure what it is, but he needs it. And I guess that's just getting on with the job. Let's hear from 2 or 3 more people. We've got Martin. Delegation is king. Absolutely, 100% delegation is king. Is how can I get someone to take over some of my lower level activities? Knowing where to start with outsourcing, sorting out my process, and not being too fearful of growth. If you have a plan for growth, you take the risk out of it. David's approach to doing the business right. Yes, there is a formula, right? And there is a formula. How important it is to understand why, what you do. Yes, and how to protect your IP, etc. Thanks, Pete. Okay, cool. And from Campbell, focusing on doing more fun skills tasks, right? So get the most out of yourself. Make sure you're doing your high value activities, making sure that you can delegate the things that are not inspiring you to do what you want to do. So the whole idea is just to keep this momentum and keep this idea of keeping on the high value tasks. Using your business plan every single week. Yeah, thanks, Philip. That is absolutely key. For those people who aren't referring to their business plan every week, it's not your fault. It's probably that your business plan isn't inspiring enough and it just needs to be a bit more compelling. So you go, what's next on the agenda? Brilliant. For Pete, it's the importance of outsourcing and culture. Guys, we have got some really good feedback here. Has this been a great session? Thumbs up if you got some good value out today. Thumbs down if you thought it was a waste of time. I'm watching you. Awesome. Guys, I really appreciate, and I'd like you to give a hand to the presenters today for Peter and Kerry Ann. They did an awesome job of preparing for this. As in the chat box, you can see each one of these guys is keen to help you. The thing I would suggest is if you're not sure who you need to speak to everybody, okay? Because the three presenters here are very keen on getting you ready for the boom ahead. And to me, it's something you should be doing always as a business owner, is clearing your diary and making sure you've got the space to look at what's going on around you. Don't get caught putting coal in the fire down in the engine room when you should be up at the helm directing the ship. Because the most powerful use of a business owner's time is making decisions about where the business needs to go. Right? Doing the work of the business, great if you do it, and that's awesome, but not best use of your time necessarily. Guys, it's right on 10:30. So what we are going to do is we're going to keep it on time and we're going to wrap up here. If anyone has any questions, please reach out to the presenters after this call. We did record this session for those who felt like there was too much to absorb in a short period of time. Thanks so much for your attention. Have an awesome day and good luck with where you're working in the business right now. Cheers, guys.